Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and today's episode, again, another interesting episode about interviews. I've got an interview with more of my friends that from the past, and we would talk about older times, different things about anime, and of course, some of the history that has passed along the way. All right. Before I begin, I'd like to remind people to go down below and click like and click subscribe. Even if you want to leave a comment below about this particular video and some opinions that you have, by all means, that does help the algorithm for YouTube. If you're interested in supporting me financially, I have the links for the super thanks as well as the PayPal and Patreon links below, where you can subscribe and get the special content that I cannot post here on YouTube. Again, there's a list with the link below of all the various different episodes I have for the History of Fan Anime, as well as the extra episodes that are available to the subscribers. And then it covers a lot of the content that, again, just YouTube just won't allow me to talk about. So, again, all that the extra content is there. All right. Okay. So without further delay, let's begin. In today's episode, we are going to go and do an interview with Dan, and we'll begin with how he met with the store and other stories about conventions and stuff.
I heard about it through a friend at Little Caesars, but for myself, for Japanese animation, it piqued my interest early in 1979 with Astro Boy, a bit of Star Blazers in Winnipeg where I grew up. My name is Dan, back again. And of course, it really piqued my interest there, and it began my journey. And of course, my parents, my brothers, and my family members noticed that it had an adverse effect on me. Plus, being born on Pearl Harbor just magnified it even more. As an interest is like, what's this Japan thing? And, contributed to, a curiosity with Japan itself. So it was really hard in Winnipeg to find anime, so you would watch whatever on TV. So the very first series, Astro Boy, bits and pieces here and there, it piqued me, but having a more mature, as a connoisseur back then, like at the time was like 5 years old, I was ahead of my time. So I found Astro Boy after about the first 4 episodes to be childish and boring, and I wanted more action, more realistic. And along and behold, everybody's favorite, Robotech.
Yeah. Okay.
So when Robotech came out, being the gullible fool I was, I was young. Didn't realize, later on it was actually 3 independent series that had nothing to do with it. Yeah. And then, of course, after learning Japanese, finding out that it was butchered and it was, just dub it, make it all fit together, bits and pieces were kept, but, that was my introduction into it. Do I regret it? No, I would actually, it was actually shown in Winnipeg early in the morning, so I would watch it at 8 o'clock. I had to be school at 9, so you jump on your bike and make a mad rush to school because you didn't want to miss an episode. Because back then, VCRs were way too expensive, and the only one available was Betamax. And that was like $1,000 in Winnipeg just for Betamax. So my parents couldn't afford that, so you had to watch it on TV live, and if you missed an episode because you woke up late or you had detention, you had to serve that early in the morning, well, you missed that episode and you had to wait for reruns in the summer to go watch it. I would grade 3-ish, okay. Grade 4-ish, around there.
That's elementary school,
yeah. Yeah, pretty much elementary school. And then, of course, it kind of died down. Like after 86, it died down, as in stuff coming to North America. It's like it hit that dry spot. There was nothing. But, the thirst for it is going like, okay, I like this stuff, because North American things like Disney is like, yawn, yawn, boring, boring, too much family values, no realism, no
Yeah.
nothing. And that was I would say that that was a big downside that I didn't like about the North American culture on how they presented it. So fast forward to 1989, of course they were still doing reruns. And then, oh, what was it? Silverhawks came out. It kind of, it was a, I would say it was influenced by Japanese animation. I can't remember if it is Japanese animation. You know, it filled the void. And then my older brother, he was applying for university. He applied at the U of M, University of Manitoba, University of Winnipeg. He applied at the Edmonton University. He then applied to SFU and UBC. So fast forward a bit, he got the scholarship, and he told his parents that I got the scholarship, mom and dad, which is, you know, $30,000. It's like, look, Winnipeg, the Manitoba one here, just in the cities, is only offering me 10,000, and I can't even get a part-time job in order to supplement that, and you know, we weren't well off. So he said, I'm gonna take it. We have family in Vancouver, so you know, my dad actually forced one of my older brothers to take him in for about a good whole year, and then dad finally made the choice of moving everybody, that's myself, my mother, and my brother, to Vancouver, and we came here. And that was the summer of 1990. So yeah, it's, you know, little did I know that I was getting closer to a source, right? New city, new everything.
What about anime places in Winnipeg?
Zero. Absolutely zero.
No rental stores, no.
Zero. There were comic book stores, but you know, the price of like these things were at least 10 years old, and they were charging like $80 for it. $80 for a tattered piece of thing in plastic in order to get it. But it was horrible. So I would look at it, it was at the comic book store, and I would say, no way am I going to buy this. This is like outrageous, even though I had my allowance, and there's no way I would actually be able to afford $80 for something that's 10 years old and out of date. I wanted something in date. So yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that you've now moved to Vancouver for university and that kind of stuff. Whereabouts did you land in Vancouver?
Near the north of East Hastings.
All right.
Little did I know that my brother moved into Skid Row. So we all crammed in a one-bedroom apartment, right? And it wasn't the best neighborhood, but you know, I had to, and then I finished off grade 11 and grade 12 here, but you know, little did I know I would actually unwittingly meet two other members of VJAS, the Vancouver Japanese Animation Society, or before that was called the Vancouver Animation Club, right? Right? So, you know, and at the time in 1990, I came in, I knew nobody, and the great thing about it is there were no other family members compared to Winnipeg that you would be compared to, because they expected high stuff for your family name, right? But being a blank slate, I could do whatever I want and not be judged, and it was great. It felt like a great weight lifted off my shoulders, but at the same time, it's like, wow, it's new. What's here? And then I found that, and I got I got my full driver's license here, and then I started to explore. So one of the first places I hit up was the leads that I got in school was, go check out Chinatown. There's some video rental stores and that, so I checked that out. Okay. Fast forward a bit, you know, most of my classmates were from Hong Kong or Taiwan, right? And one of the things popped up in my grade 12 year was beginner's Japanese 11.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I skipped my math class just to line up to sign up for that for the following year because they said there were only 60 seats.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was already standing in front of the classroom where they were going to do it, and I was one of the 4 grade 12s who was in that class. But once again, at Templeton Secondary School, the majority of the population at the time was either Italian, but the large far majority was from Hong Kong, and then the second largest was Taiwan.
Yeah.
So when it came to learn Japanese, is they had their kanji, and there was only myself, a Filipino, a Vietnamese girl, an Italian girl, and of course a Canadian-born Chinese.
Okay.
All 4 of us would always shotgun our hands to the air and say, "I didn't get what you just wrote there." And everybody would give us this disgusted look. It's like, "You're Asian, you should know how to read that." "I'm Filipino, I'm Vietnamese, I was born here, I'm Italian, does it look like I'm Asian?" I graduated grade 12, I rented a couple things, and, after that, I couldn't get into any university or college because my marks weren't Asian standard. It was a C+. So as you know, as an Asian, if you have C+, or you're trying to get an UBC or anything else, well, they said, "Oh, we'll put you on the waiting list." Well, that was a big farce, me being young. Well, guess what that means is you're not getting in.
Yeah.
So it dawned upon me after about, the term began, I start to look for a job. So one of the first jobs I got was the Little Caesars that opened up, well, it's no longer there anymore, is at East 22nd and Rupert. Yep. And along and behold, right across the street was another comic book store, and I didn't really pay attention to it, but, listening to one of my coworkers at Little Caesars is like, "Did you not see the ad on the comic book store? They have a BBS. It's a Vancouver Japanese Animation Club. It's like, why don't you just log into the BBS?" It's like, the ad's right there. I can't remember what it's called. Okay. During my break, I just perused over the street. We didn't have smartphones, or like cameras were too big. So if you took a picture, you had to go get it developed. Yeah, because we had film, not this new electronic stuff that we're at today. So I couldn't take a picture, so I brought a piece of paper, and the paper I wrote it at was the actual pad to order pizza from the store.
Okay, yeah.
So I brought that with me, wrote it down, right? Wrote down the phone number, and it's like, okay, prototype BBS, okay, and yep, I got a 14.4K modem, and at the time the fastest speed was 56.6. So I was at least it wasn't 2400 baud, but it was slightly better. At least I was at the bottom feeder. So I logged in, you see the ASCII splash screen, it comes up. And the very first place I went was, let's look at the categories. Okay, so it's general chat, this, and then what hit me in general chat is, "Oh, we're having a meeting." And of course, me procrastinating, I didn't go. So I just continued on the BBS, chatted with a couple of the guys, and then, I finally got my Sundays off. So I came down to one of the meetings, and that's where I met you, Will, and the rest of the group for the meeting. And this was at Douglas College, right? Not Trout Lake. I never went to the Trout Lake one. So anyways, that was a bit fast forward to 1994, and little did I know, at the time, I made a bet with my parents that I would apply again for school because they were worried that, I'd be stuck in a fast food job for the rest of my life. And I go like, okay, fine. So I applied. I applied to every single school that I did, plus private schools, and long and behold, CDI accepted me. Okay. So I went. So, and then I found out, I kind of remembered at the meetings, just, "Oh yeah, we have a store," and I wrote it down because I had a pen and paper, but I just didn't have the time to go because I was about to start school, so I wanted to concentrate more. what started off as a mere distraction turned out to something far more beneficial. As we speak right now, it's been 30 years,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't realize, things that could occur in that. But after CDI, I would go there, and the reason why is we moved to Metrotown. So rather than pay two zones, I would wait till 6 o'clock until the zones went down, so I only had to pay a one zone to get back home.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Dan sort of makes a note about zones and that kind of stuff, and that's sort of important for a few people, because a lot of people that came into my store came in the store, directly after they finished work downtown Vancouver, and then in order to save money on bus fare or transit fare, is they wait until after rush hour and then they can then go home after that, right? So let me just sort of explain to you. So how the GVRD transit system, TransLink, works is that um, you can buy a bus pass or bus ticket, and let's say it's $2, and that will allow you all to any point in Vancouver. Okay, and you can transfer up to like 90 minutes of time to transfer from one bus to or a SkyTrain to the next in that 90-minute period, all day. Okay, including rush hour. Okay, but during rush hour, if you have to cross from Vancouver into Burnaby or cross into Richmond or into North Vancouver, right? That crosses what they call a zone boundary. So we go from Zone 1, which is Vancouver, to Zone 2, which is Richmond, Burnaby, North Vancouver, okay? And if you do that, you have to pay, let's say, 75 cents more. So you have to pay $2.75 during rush hours, okay? So during first in the morning to like 9 a.m. and like 3 p.m. to like 6 p.m. You have to pay the extra 75 cents if you're going to cross between Zone 1 and Zone 2. And it costs extra if you go from Zone 2 to Zone 3 subsequently, right? So someone like Rob, for example, would have to go from Vancouver all the way through Burnaby, then into Surrey. So that'd be 3 zones. So he might be paying like $3.25 for his, for traveling during rush hour. But as soon as it passes over 6 o'clock, which happens to be the time my store closes, it closes at 6 o'clock. Then when your one zone pass or your Vancouver pass is good for the entire transit system. Okay, so that means you don't have to pay the extra 75 cents, to travel from, in this case, Vancouver all the way to Metrotown, or from Vancouver all the way through Burnaby and then into Surrey. Again, if it's off peak hours, you only need the one zone pass. So again, that's what happens when many people who live not in Vancouver proper, after work, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, or whatever, they come by the store, they hang out for a little while, they play some video games, maybe rent a movie or whatever, and then when 6 o'clock hits, then they then they jump back onto the bus or onto that and go home, right? So that's why I get a lot of regulars and that kind of stuff. And again, I've always located my store really close to the to the SkyTrain transit line, the subway sort of thing, so that it was really accessible for those kind of people who did that kind of thing.
So I would skimp out, and it was actually cheaper because at the time it was only 75 cents to jump between, and it was a $1.50 to go from downtown Vancouver to go into Burnaby at Metrotown. So I says, no. So I'll pay a $1.50, but I'll do it a bit later.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had a little excuse. So I went, and that's when I started to meet the rest of my friends, which I consider family right now, and I consider you as family at this point.
So as Dan mentions that that was sort of the first time that he sort of came by and came with the store and everything like that. And we've been our group of friends and the people that we've met at the store and the whole core of the Japanese animation club and society. have remained together even to this day. And every year we always have our get-together dinners or our online calls at New Year's. Um, we still do all those sort of gatherings together, and we still keep in touch with with different people and whatnot. Even during even when the store's not even opened, and even though we're not even fan subbing anything, we still are together in this sort of sort of as anime community group. And in many ways, yeah, as I said, we do everybody's sort of life changing events like marriage and and funerals and that kind of stuff. We attend together, and we still stay together as a community ever since. I'm displaying some pictures of Dan's wedding. Again, where he invited us, the group, to his wedding, and we've done pretty much so for all our weddings actually. That are of the members of the group, we've because this is how we knew everybody. This is how everyone knew, kind of came in contact with me, and because of this, this is how what brings our group together. And yeah, even you know, as we're approaching 20 years now, we are still in contact with each other. We're still very close, a group knit of friends, and that's one thing that that grew out of this sort of actual social interaction with each other that I doubt really would ever happen in the sort of modern day let's just sit at home and just converse and text and that kind of stuff kind of relationship. The same kind of bonds just doesn't transpire the same way as they did in the past. And that's one thing that I do really miss from this era. That's for sure. Okay, so I hope you found that really interesting, and I always find it really interesting, to go and talk to some of the old people because they always bring up stories that I sort of sometimes forget, or I don't quite have the exact wording sometimes, because I don't want to say something in regards to in about someone's story, when they can say it properly themselves, because I might get some details wrong or whatever. So it's always better that you get the information straight from them, as well as it's they always have some different perspective that maybe I just kind of forgot about, because so much time has passed. Sometimes I tend to forget them. So it's always good to have good conversation about that. Again, I will be doing more of them, so stay tuned for that. All right. So until next time, I will see you again.